And we are live. How's it going, all you amazing Mets fans? It's your guy, Wardy, and we are currently on the road out of town today, but that is not stopping us from getting into our initial post-game reaction and recap and breakdown here as the New York Metropolitans take down the LA Dodgers there at home to take Game 2 and Game 3 of this series. Very fitting how the only game your guy Wardy attends this entire series. They lose in a dramatic 13-inning fashion, but tonight we're going to break down everything that transpired in this ball game, inning 1 through 9 there, folks. If you're wondering why was my intro different from previous shows, that is mainly because that was my old intro from a couple seasons ago. That's why my guy Anthony Recker, former Mets catcher and MLB Network analyst, that's a good buddy of mine, and I used to do a podcast with, was the final batter that you guys saw there in the intro. But how's it going, everybody? Thank you guys so much for chiming in on live and on replay. Let's get the hype going right away. I want to see everyone's initial reactions in the comments down below, and everyone on replay as well. Please let me know the initial reactions to tonight's 3-1 victory, because finally, everybody, and yes, my arm is already absolutely cooked. You know it. I'm going to be cramping up like a mofo, but the party never stops here for WardyNYM, especially after one of their biggest series victories yet. The Mets dropped their past two series that we saw between the Yankees and the Red Sox. They needed a big matchup there in their NLCS rematch against the LA Dodgers, and they were able to do exactly that, everybody. So let's get the hype going. Spam the W's in the chat. Let me see all your initial reactions in the comments down below, and everyone that's first chiming in, thank you all so much. I will just preface by saying, folks, if anyone goes out of their way to donate, I never ask for it, but I always appreciate it. I may miss your donations tonight because I'm doing this through a different software than I typically do. It's kind of harder to read the chat today, so I apologize in advance if I'm not able to get to everyone's comments. I'm going to do my absolute best, though, on that front. I'm going to probably flip-flop there between horizontal and vertical here for the format. It's easier to read it there vertical, but at the same time, horizontal is going to fit the template better and everything that we're presenting. But guys, let's talk about this amazing victory, and I do apologize. This is, of course, a big series victory, and I don't have the jingle to play for you guys because I didn't have it set up in time, so I apologize for that. What I need you guys to do, if you guys know our post-game jingle that we play after every single big series win, especially, guys, what I need you to do is to simply play the jingle in your head with me right here, right now. Bop to it in your head, get yourself going, thinking, all Mets fans, come on down. You know, I'm so excited here to get into this post-game show, everybody, so let's get the hype going. Kodai Senga didn't go necessarily deep in this outing, but that's okay because he was absolutely nails when called upon. Outside of giving up the bomb there to Shohei Ohtani, countryman on countryman crime. Kodai Senga was pretty much exactly as advertised, like he's been all season long. And for the Mets on the offensive end, they had Mark Vientos finally in the 2-hole, something that we were expecting to see, and that finally became a reality as Vientos there. I believe tonight was his bobblehead night. It was yesterday or today. I know it was one of the two there at Citi Field, but Mark gets a start there in the 2-hole that we saw. And while necessarily Mark Vientos wasn't the key standout today offensively, what was huge was to see Pete Alonso be the standout on the offensive end. The Polar Bear entered today's game with the longest drought in his professional career throughout the regular season and the amount of times he has missed a game when it came to hitting a home run. Pete Alonso entered tonight's game having at least 16 straight games on this season where he had yet to hit a home run. Alonso been stuck at the number 9 for what feels like forever, and all it took was a big game here that we saw in this series finale with Knack initially on the mound there for the Dodgers to find Pete Alonso in the double-digit category and ultimately power this Metropolitan team to victory. So we're going to break down all the key takeaways, everybody, in this one. So again, thank you guys so much for chiming in. Hit that like and subscribe button as you do exactly that, everybody. And I'm seeing a lot of the W's in the chat already. Absolutely love to see. I'm going to give a quick shout out to everyone that I first seen in the chat, guys, and I'm going to break down my initial reactions and everything that transpired in this ball game. So once more, I apologize if I don't interact with the chat as much as I typically do tonight. That's just mainly because of my setup there, using my phone, don't have my monitors and everything in front of me. Nothing fancy tonight. We're on the road, have a late night here because it's for a great reason. But guys, Elephant, how we doing in the chat? We got Ronald, how we doing? Mike O'Brien, how we doing? Madeline, how we doing? Big Frank, Paul, Charlene, Jeff, Rebecca, great member. Juan Diaz, great member, moderator. White Mike, how we doing? We got All Things Mets Talk, how we doing? We got Shut the Front Door, Jeff Kaplan. We got Steve Long, great member. Eric Douglas, great member. Alvin, how we doing? PB9, great member. Lisa, how are you? Thank you so much for chiming in. Let's see, Eugene, baby, how we doing? Scott Sandler, great member. Ethan, great member. Everybody first coming in here. Let's see, we got Andres, how we doing? We got Shut, how we doing? We got Charlene again, Conan. We got Vertigo, Rivera, great member as always. We got Big Frank, if I didn't say him already. Brandon, how we doing? Going up the list here. Care Bear, great member. G Money, how you doing? Everybody, again, BY, thank you guys so much. Come on. Let's get on to breaking down this ball game, folks. Because like I said, I am a happy camper today, even though I'm out of town, was following along throughout this entire ball game. And key standouts right away that I saw in this matchup, Tyrone Taylor being the absolute stud that he is on the defensive end. Listen, the Mets gave up early runs against the Dodgers yet again, but I did not think for a second that the Mets were completely out of this ball game when that first transpired. I don't exactly know how you guys feel about this, but in my personal opinion, I felt that this was a perfect opportunity for the Mets to rally back the way that they have done plenty already so far this season, including the ball game that we saw in game 1. And even though that they lost in extras, in which I was in attendance, they rallied back there after being down 3 in the 9th inning. Yesterday, the Mets rallied back after being down 2-0. So this was not one of those things where I felt like, oh, okay, just because the Mets are down by a pair of runs early against the Dodgers, that would be their ultimate demise in this matchup. And it was absolutely fantastic to see not only the Mets rally back, but ultimately win this one the way that they did there by a final score 3-1. And I apologize if I said there that the Mets were down 2-0 early. That's what happened yesterday, not today, obviously. So let's get into all the goodies about this matchup, everybody. And I have to give credit where credit's due, guys. We talked about this in last night's post-game show. I asked each and every one of you, what are the Mets going to do with catcher today? Is it going to be Alvy or is it going to be Terrence? Because there is fair arguments for both sides here. In the case of Terrence, he had a really good game yesterday, got on base multiple times that we saw. In the case of Alvarez has caught Senga the majority of the season. At least the past 2 or 3 starts, Kodai Senga has been caught by strictly Francisco Alvarez. So I initially thought that the Mets were going to favor Francisco Alvarez a little bit for that main reason, but I was ultimately wrong in the end as they went with Luis Terrence today, and that did not hurt this team by any stretch. And offensively for the Mets in this matchup between themselves and the Dodgers, listen, the Dodgers had a total there that we saw of how many hits on the day? 6. The Mets had themselves a total of 6 hits as well. But how the boys fare with runners in scoring position, not all that great. And thankfully tonight was one of those ball games where they didn't need to be experts because the pitching was as sound, as cool, and comfortable as possible. Because Kodai Senga, guys, doesn't even give the Mets more than 5.1 innings tonight. But between the greatness of Ryan Stanek, Max Kranick, Henry Garrett, the boys shut down the doors and shut down a very good, a very talented, and obviously the reigning champs here and the LA Dodgers. So let's get into this ball game, everybody, and let's see what led the Mets to victory. And one thing I want to give massive credit for corner. I understand that he technically had an offer today, but Juan Soto showed hustle today. Not only did Juan Soto bolt to try to get himself an infield single, I mean, that basically helped him get on there for the Pete Alonso bomb that we'll get into in a second, but it was also the hustle that we saw there on the force out and then stealing his 7th bag of the year, guys. Juan Soto has 7 stolen bases this season. Why is that important, you might wonder? Juan Soto had 7 stolen bases all of last season. So that tells you that there is a clear opportunity for Juan Soto to have a career high in stolen bags this year. He's on pace for a roughly 30 stolen bag season or so when he hasn't had more than 12 in his entire career. So that's really, really exciting. And to see Juan Soto also flash the leather the way that he did in right field there on former Mets right fielder, the guy that I loved so much when he was in New York Metropolitan, that being a Michael Conforto. I liked what I saw from Soto today in the flashes. Yes, there's obviously still a bit to be desired there with the at-bats, but we know that he's had some really, really bad luck. The BABIP entering tonight's game was around 250 when the league average is 300. McBlam, thank you so much for the $5 holla. I appreciate that. Let's see here, McBlam. Oh, my goodness gracious. The chat, I just lost it. Let's see. Hold on, chat. And the chat just froze up on me. Hold on, everybody. I'm trying to see if I can get to this comment. McBlam, thank you so much. Are we finally a good team? Are people going to shut up about us only beating bad teams? Listen, the Mets winning a series against the reigning champs should be the one of many examples as to why they're, without question, one of the best teams, not just in the National League, but all Major League Baseball. The Mets and the Dodgers have pretty much the same record at this point in the season. And not that a record, the first 2 months of the season isn't end-all be-all and really debating it and figuring out how good your team is, but I think it is at least somewhat indicative as to what the continuation of the year could be for the team if they have the proper depth and the proper personnel. And I think as Mets fans, we should be very grateful because with a team, again, 10 plus games above 500, still a little bit behind there from first place of the Phillies, but that's okay. And they now have a schedule after beating the LA Dodgers in their first series, and they have LA again to begin the first week of June there in LA. So it's not going to get any easier for this team, but over the next week, it does get easier. Before they have that key West Coast trip, you got the White Sox beginning tomorrow. Then you got the Colorado Rockies heading into the weekend. That's fantastic. Light work for the Mets, at least on paper, but it's going to be now up to them to see what they can do to step up in these key situations against lesser ball clubs and take advantage of the opportunities given to them the way that the Phillies have been on an absolute heater after smoking the Athletics, smoking the Rockies, and smoking the Pirates. Like, again, it's another day on the block without a problem. So, guys, let's now break down this ball game and talk about why I'm so happy as a Mets fan right now, talking about both the Mets and the Dodgers at 32-21 on this season. So, again, not going to complain about that whatsoever, everybody. But as we saw to begin this ball game, it's Shohei Ohtani with an absolute ding-dong right away off of Kodai Senga. And listen, Kodai's going to give up meatballs to begin ball games. This is actually a pretty funny continuation from the NLCS last year that we saw. Thankfully, the Mets actually won this ball game instead of getting rocked the way that they did in previous games when Senga didn't have it during the NLCS last year, but he throws 95 right down the dick, middle. What do you think's going to happen? Shohei Ohtani is what's going to happen, everybody. And I can't thank my friends enough for making the show happen today, that being at SeatGeek, everybody. Please make sure to check out by clicking the link down below in the description. That way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase there. SeatGeek, the #1 rated ticketing app in the game today with 70,000 active events to choose from, and they'll have you covered with our promo code WARDY10. That way you guys get 10% off Mets tickets, Knicks tickets if you guys still believe that they have a chance somehow, or if you're looking at concert tickets, comedy show tickets, you name it, they have you covered. And BetUS, America's #1 sportsbook, has you covered, as well as their casino for everyone that has interest and knows how to dabble and is doing it responsibly. That's the most important thing, everybody. But Shohei Ohtani greeted his fellow countryman and Kodai Senga very rudely to begin this ball game. I didn't appreciate it, but again, I knew it wasn't the end of the world because afterwards we would see Mookie Betts there reach on an error because, of course, very fitting. Mark Vientos' first play, the first ball going his way out of the hot corner today, he can't handle it, and it's an easy on base there for Mookie Betts with the error. I love Mark Vientos to death. I really do. But I think the Mets are not helping him out by any stretch either by not consistently playing him at the hot corner. If you're complaining about Mark's defense, you platooning him the way that you are between himself and Beatty is only going to, in my opinion, set him back a little bit because he's not getting those consistent reps at the hot corner. I really do think that that is going to be his demise to a degree. So we'll see what happens on that front, everybody. But I'm just saying I'm not overly shocked here if we do see this be one of those things where Mark Vientos does get more reps than not at DH because I think that's what's going to profile best for him going forward. But Freddie Freeman ripped himself his 14th double of the year there not long after. And then we would see after the Mets challenge, the call was overturned there, and Will Smith did in fact fly into a double play there, but the run would come in to score there, that being in, pardon me, I don't know why I can't talk right now. That being the Dodgers, they got off to an early 1-0 lead in this one. And then we saw Mookie Betts out at home. Again, that was initially overturned, however. So Dodgers took a 1-0 lead. And then Teoscar Hernandez was promptly struck out there by Mr. Kodai Senga, who had that nasty pitch working. Not the ghost work this time, but he went with the slider there for the called strike 3. And the bottom of the first, everybody, we saw Vientos bang the 2-hole strike out after Lindor strikes out back-to-back Ks early for Knack and the Dodgers. Then Juan Soto would reach on a fielding error there by Max Muncy, but major shout out to Juan Soto for busting his ass down the first baseline. Not something that we've seen him do all that much so far this year, so that's certainly encouraging. And then Alonso promptly greets Knack very rudely, even more rudely than what Shohei Ohtani did to begin this ball game to Kodai. And it's no doubter of a two-run shot to left there for Mr. Pete Alonso. Juan Soto's hustle certainly made that happen. Alonso's 10th home run of the year finally gained the monkey off his back. 106 feet there at 107 miles per hour. 406 feet there. Obviously, I don't know why I said 106 originally. McNeil flew out, but not before the Mets had themselves now a 2-1 lead. And thankfully, the Mets never looked back from here. We would see Kodai Senga have a clean inning of work there, 1-2-3 in the second by striking out Michael Conforto for the final out of the inning. Then we saw Tyrone Taylor get on with a 2-out hit by pitch, but nothing else happens there in the bottom of the second. And the third, we would see them go down in order again, back-to-back Ks, this time on Tommy Edman and Shohei Ohtani. Not only did Kodai Senga have the cutter working, he had the ghost fork working, he had the slider working, he had the fastball working. He was throwing the entire kitchen sink through just over 5 innings, but he was nails in doing so. We saw then in the bottom of the third, everybody, Francisco Lindor ripped himself a single there to Pages up the middle. Vientos gets his first hit of the year there, batting the 2-hole, a spot where he thrived plenty that we saw last season. Juan Soto then grounded into a force out, but that did drive in the Mets' third and final run of the ball game, as the Mets ultimately do win this one by a final score of 3-1. And as we continue from here, everybody, Soto would then steal his 7th bag of the season, tying his season high from a year ago. McNeil would strike out there, and that would do it for the inning. And the fourth, we'd see Freddie Freeman get on with a single, but a huge double play turn there. Will Smith grounds into the double play from Beatty to Lindor to Pete without a problem. Tio with a 2-out double, and then he steals third base for his 5th stolen bag of the year. Max Muncy gets on with a walk, but Kodai Senga lives dangerously, and he knows how to get out of these jams unscathed. He gets a key flyout on Andy Pages, which then sets us up for the bottom of the fourth. The Mets do nothing. Jared Young, another start at DH, everybody. We'll see how much reps Mets give Jared Young until a guy like Ronnie Mauricio is eligible to be called up as soon as the 27th of this month. And how much longer the Mets may wait from there, I guess we'll just find out, because he looked good out the hot corner yesterday. I'm not sure how he performed today there for AAA Syracuse. I'll have to check. But again, baby steps in the right direction there. Michael Conforto, I love Michael always well, got on with a leadoff walk in this inning in the 5th. Then we saw Mookie Betts with a 2-out single, but that's all she wrote. Then we see in the bottom of the 5th there, the Mets go down in order. So in the 6th inning, we would see Ryan Stan come in after a 1-out walk to Max Muncy. Kodai Senga's final line, everybody, is absolutely fantastic. 5.1 innings there that we saw of just 1 earned run ball. And looking at Kodai there on the numbers, especially breaking down how many pitches, he threw 101 pitches, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. Not the sharpest iron for Kodai by any stretch, but still being the guy we need him to be, an ace caliber pitcher, even if he can't go deep. Kodai Senga is still going to get an absolutely rock solid 6.5 out of 10 from your guy Wardy today. Would have liked to see him go deeper, but I think you could even make the argument for 7, just because, again, he dealt with a lot of traffic, got out of a bases loaded jam as well, and managed to get out of it all unscathed. So I have to give credit there where credit's due. But as we go back to breaking down more of this ball game, everybody, and I want to hear your grades for Kodai Senga and the live chat in the comments down below, and to all of our replay viewers. And thank you guys kindly for doing exactly that. As we get back to breaking down this ball game, folks, we would then see, after everything transpired there in the 5th and the 6th, because Andy Pages grounds into a key double play to end the inning after Ryan Stanek, mind you, comes in the ball game. So that was massive. In the bottom of 6, we would see nothing happen after Jeff McNeil would hit himself a 2-out ground rule double, his 2nd of the season, as Terrence would then be called out on strikes to end the inning. And the 7th, here comes Mad Max Kranick, or No Panic Kranick. I think No Panic is better than Mad Max, because I think a Scherzer right away, obviously, and they're just not the same pitcher. But we would see Conforto fly out, Tommy Edman with a pop out, and then a key fly out for Shohei Ohtani, and there's 3 out, and that is it, everybody. Great work by Max Kranick. We would see in the 7th, Marte gets on with a single, and then we would see with Tyrone Taylor batting. Unfortunately, Marte was picked off there after that single. Not ideal there. Again, unfortunately, with Marte, knowing that he's pushing 40, he is just, again, a shell of what he used to be. And yes, guys, my arm is absolutely cooked, but we're rocking it out. We're going to get through this for each and every one of you because I really appreciate the north of 400 you guys watching live on a replay for our latest post-game segment here presented by our great friends at SeatGeek and BetUS. On the road, everybody, but that is not stopping the content after a big series victory like what we got tonight. So hit that like and subscribe on your way, and let me know all your key reactions and analysis in the comments down below, guys, watching live on a replay. It really does mean a lot. As we get into this one, everybody, we then enter the 8th inning as Luis Angel Acuna would come in to command third base for the remainder of the ball game there for Vientos, and then bat second in the order. Betts, Freddie, and Smith, 1, 2, 3, you're out of here. Another fantastic inning there by this Mets bullpen and Max Kranick. Setting the stage for the bottom of the 8th inning where Lou Trevino comes in for the second time there in this series, and Luis Angel Acuna, in his first step out of the ball game, promptly gets on with a single that we love to see opposite field. We see Juan Soto strike out swinging, but Acuna would then steal second base there that we would see, and then he would ultimately get to third there on the error by Will Smith. So shout out to Luis Angel Acuna continuing to be the absolute speed demon that he is, always making a difference every single time he's out there, no matter if he's starting, coming in as a pinch runner, coming in as a late game defensive replacement the way that he was today. He just makes things happen, and that's why Acuna is here to stay for now at least. Alonso did strike out to end the inning. Then we get set for Reed Garrett in the top of the 9th. He strikes out Teoscar Hernandez beautifully there that we saw with the splitty at 91 miles per hour. Then we see Max Muncy get on with a 1-out single. Then a force out by Andy Pages, and he would steal his 6th bag of the year. And Michael Conforto, it's fitting, everybody, to conclude the first series of Michael Conforto's back at Citi Field playing there, actually performing, because he was injured last time. He was a San Francisco Giant and they were in town, so he didn't really get to appreciate being back at Citi Field. He was able to do that, and the Mets thankfully struck his ass out to end the ball game. Reed Garrett got him on the splitty as well there at 89 miles per hour, and that does it, folks. The Mets go on to win this one by a final score of 3-1. They had a really important series, and yes, while there's a lot to be desired offensively from this team in this matchup still, because you look at guys like Lindor, 1 for 4 with the run scored, 273 average, 809 OPS now on the year. Vientos, 1 for 3, 234 average, 681 OPS. Acuna, 1 for 1 there, 260 average, 622 OPS. He's dropped off quite a bit. Soto with the run scored, the stolen bag, and the RBI. I appreciate that from Juan. 236 average, 777 OPS. Kind of crazy to ever read that with Juan Soto, but here we are. Alonso with the monstrous 2-run shot to left, 291 average and 927 OPS. Jeff McNeil 1 for 3 there, 231 average, 800 OPS. Terens 0 for 267 average, 762 OPS, but he was great with his game calling today. Jared Young 0 for there that we saw. No hits yet at the major league level this season. Marte 1 for 1 there as a pinch hitter with a 230 average and 673 OPS. Tyrone Taylor 0 for in this one, but had a fantastic throw that we saw to get Betts out there at home from earlier. And I don't know why, everybody. They said it was overturned, right? In the case of Tyrone Taylor, yes. Because yes, I might have said that wrong earlier, and I apologize because I know Tyrone did in fact throw out Betts. So maybe what I said earlier, I meant to say that the 1 run came in, but Betts was out there at home. Regardless, the Dodgers did still have themselves that 1-0 lead that lasted a whole half inning, everybody. Ralph, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that. Ralph says, LFGM, good series, confident team, especially at Shea, 100%. P.S. Hope Shea is sleeping through the night. He is. And I can't thank my parents enough for taking great care of him tonight there, so my lady and I can have ourselves a nice little evening together. We don't get it too often, so we certainly appreciate it. But again, thank you so much for that donation. I really do appreciate it. Was having a blast with him all day today there by the beach, having a lot of fun. But now he's sleeping like the baby that he is, and Wardy here is going to have himself a really fun night. So guys, before I get out of here, Ralph, thank you again for that donation. Final takeaway, folks, is that Mets pitching goes 9 innings, allows just 6 hits, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts, and 1 earned run. They continue to be, without question, one of the best, if not the best, overall pitching staff in all Major League Baseball. And now the Mets head into a huge week where they are playing the lessers, the bottom feeders, and the Southside Chicago White Sox and the Colorado Rockies. We will have you guys with coverage after every single game throughout that series, so be on the lookout for it, everybody. We may have content dropping earlier tomorrow, closer to the AM, if not by latest 1 p.m. or so. So be on the lookout for that too, guys. And I'm going to get out of here now. I'm not going to be too long-winded because I got places to be. But I can't thank you all so much again for chiming in for our latest post-game reaction and recap. Once more, I apologize. I wasn't able to get to everyone's comments tonight the way that I otherwise would have liked to, but I want to make sure I have my initial reaction and thoughts in this one because, yes, Soto's at-bats weren't overly fantastic today, but it's baby steps in the right direction for him, even for the $765 million man, which is crazy to say. It's still reality, but to have Kodai Senga continue to look masterful, now he's down to a 1.46 ERA in the season, an absolute dog, and now the Mets head into what should be a smooth sailing week. Listen, the Phillies took advantage of their strength of schedule. It's about time the Mets now take advantage before they have that huge West Coast trip back in LA beginning the first week of June. We will have coverage on the Mets every single day here on the platform, everybody. Hit that like and subscribe on your way out. Thank you again so much for watching, and this is your guy Wardy signing out. Have a great one, folks, and as always, no matter what, let's effing go Mets. Peace out, folks. Have a great night.